Hello, it is I, Andreen, Jewish American Priestess, and I'm here for a pick a plant. We'll go with pick a fruit reading of the Jewish Hebrunes for the upcoming holiday of Tu B'Av. We just passed through Tisha B'Av, which is the day of mourning for the people who identify as Jewish, and now we're coming in just a few days later to Tu B'Av, and Tu B'Av is one of the most joyous holidays in the calendar, and many people have not heard of it. It is a day which it is said that the maidens would dress all in white. They would exchange clothing with each other so that you could not tell the rich from the poor, and they would dance in the vineyards, and they would the young men would come out and gaze upon them, I guess, for the purpose of choosing a mate, I guess, if you want to go back to ancient terminology. And so that's coming up here, Tu B'Av, on Friday. So it starts on Thursday night, the 14th of Av, as it turns into Friday, the 15th of Av, our full moon of the month of Av. So I'm going to do 3 readings today. The first one is for people who would like to choose this rosebud that came out of my garden a few minutes ago. The second reading will be for those who would like to choose this Thornless Blackberry, ripe right off the vine. And the third is for people who would like to choose this tiny apple, again, a windfall apple from the tree in our backyard. So all very symbolic of fruit and fertility and love and all those things. So choose one of these 3 things. I will do a reading with the Hebrunes, and we'll see what comes up for you for this holiday of Tu B'Av and the love relationships that may come out of it. I'll put this timestamps down below if I can figure out how to do that. Hold tight. All right, for those of you who chose the rosebud, I'll set that there for you, and I'm going to start by taking out a handful of Hebrunes and laying them out and see what comes up for us today. The first one is the letter Hey. The second one is the letter Dalet. Above the Hey, we have the letter Pei. Below, we have the letter Gimel. To the right, we have the letter Aleph. And we'll see if we need some more clarification after we go through this set of runes. So the central issue here, we have the letter Hey right in the center. And the letter Hey is the Hebrew letter that begins the word Hineni. So it's about presence. It's about remaining present right here in this moment, being with what is going on. It's about unity. It's about completion, which is perfect for this holiday of Tu B'Av. It's about expression and revelation. It is 2 of the 4 letters of the name of the divine, Yud, He, Vav, He. And it is it talks about the word, the name of God that is also the word to be. So Havaya, or Havaya, depending on how you like to pronounce it, means being. It is this idea of being, and there are 3 tenses, of course, past, present, and future, and they all begin with Hey. We've got Haya in the past, Hoveh in the present, and Hiyeh in the future. All make up the name of God. So Hey is just about presence, is about being. It's about being here. It's about being present for the divine. Hineni means I am here, but it also is the answer that one gives when they hear the divine call their name. Hineni, I am here and available for service. It also the number 5 in Gematria, which speaks of being 5 fingers. So it talks about action in the world. And it is affiliated with the physical body's sense of sight. So being able to see what's happening in the moment. And also the physical organ, the liver in the body. And the liver, which is keved in the body, is the same root as the word kavod, which means glory or honor. And so because the liver is the heaviest organ in the body, it gets affiliated with this glory and honor. So it has a certain amount of gravitas to it. And so that's all wrapped up in the letter He. And that is our central issue. So the letter that comes right before that is the letter Dalet. And Dalet is also the letter that comes right before He in the alphabet. It is representative of a doorway and also about humility, which is interesting because we just passed through Tisha B'Av, which is all about humility and grief. And it is a doorway into the season as we move toward the high holidays. It is this gateway into Teshuvah. So we've just passed through this doorway, and now we are in the present. Now we are being here and being ready, trying to make ourselves ready for what is coming next. What shows up above in our reading is the letter Pe. And Pe is the letter that represents mouth. It is the mouth of the divine speaking the world into existence. It is it contains within it a space for the letter Bet, as if the divine is speaking the word Bereshit in the beginning, into creation. And it is about communication. So what's going to help us here is being communicative with ourselves, with others, with the divine, as we get through this time, as we move into the high holidays, into Rosh Hashanah, as we pass through this doorway into the present, we should be communicating. And I'm guessing that's in terms of both prayer with the divine and also with each other. As we try to make teshuvah, we may need to speak to some others in order to clear up issues that need to be cleared up for our ability to make teshuvah as we go forward. And in this moment with Tu B'Av, maybe it has to do with being present with the moment as things are now, as the roses in bloom, communicating with others, telling them you love them, telling them that they are important to you, whether it's a romantic partner or a friend or a family member. We don't have to only talk about romantic love in these situations. As we move into what isn't going to help us in this situation, I'm seeing the letter Gimel, and that is below the line here. And the letter Gimel is a camel. It is about movement, and it is about running and returning, which is a favorite phrase in the book of Sefer Yetzirah when we talk about the angels. They run and they return, both like up in the ladder of Jacob as he watched the angels going to and from heaven. So we have running and returning. And because it's on the lower line, which tends to be a negative aspect, it's about running. Don't run. Don't run away from what's happening in the present. We've walked through this doorway of Tisha B'Av into the present of Tu B'Av. We're communicating. our love, and we're communicating, getting ready to communicate for Teshuvah, but don't run away from this. It's okay to be here. And if you feel like running, return to the present and try to talk about it, try to talk it through. And what that will bring us to in the future is the letter Aleph. And the letter Aleph is, as we know, the first letter of the Aleph Bet. And it is the number 1. It represents oneness and all things one. It represents the divine and the oneness. It represents the oneness of creation. It has this little yud above and this little yud below and a vav between, which represents the wholeness of creation with the divine above and the creation below, and that division and connection between those things. So we have the letter 1, the names of God. So many of the names of God begin with Aleph. And also the name Adam, which is human, begins with Aleph. So we have this connection piece. We have this paradox of the oneness of all things and the multiplicity of all things. And interestingly, Aleph, when it's pronounced Aleph, means 1,000. So we have both 1 and 1,000 in this one letter. So we're moving, again, from a doorway of Tisha B'Av into the present of Tu B'Av. We're communicating our love. We're communicating our repentance if necessary. We're not running away from our situation, and that's going to bring us back to oneness. So for those of you who chose the Rosebud today, that is your reading for Tu B'Av. I hope you have a beautiful Tu B'Av where you can come together with your loved ones and express your love in whatever way is appropriate for you today. And we'll see you in the next reading. Okay, for those of you who chose the Thornless Blackberry, which is the closest thing I had in my backyard to a bundle of grapes. It looks like little tiny grapes all clustered together in a druplet. I'm going to eat this after the reading, but I'll set that right here for us. See, put it someplace where we can see it. And I'm going to pull out your Hebrunes for your reading for Tu B'Av as we enjoy the fruits of the summer and move into something less dour than Tisha B'Av. Let's see what we got in here for you today. The first one that comes out is, Shin. The letter Shin. I'm going to go to the left next, and I get the letter Vav. I'm going to go above next, and what have I got here? This one is the letter Chet. On the lower line, you have the letter Samech. And to the right, I have the letter Mem. Okay. Let's start with this and see if we need any clarity about anything as we move through. So this is my little notebook where I've taken notes about what each of the letters mean. So we have the letter Shin, and the letter Shin is fire. It is one of the mother letters, and it represents fire in the world, in creation. It is the second letter of the word Aish. It sounds like fire, shh, as it goes on, and it is the second to the last letter of the Aleph Bet. Some would say it's the last letter of the Aleph Bet because Tav, which is the actual last letter, is more of a stamp or a seal. It's like a signature. And so Shin could be perceived as the last letter of the Aleph Bet. It has 3 flames on it, 3 yuds, and a bunch of vavs, and it starts a lot of amazing words. It starts the word shalom and shana, which means sleep, and shena, and shana, which means year, shmini, which means change. It's got wholeness, again in the form of shalom, shechina, which is one of the divine names, feminine divine name, And if you've noticed, mezuzahs also have a shin on the outside representing El Shaddai, I believe. And Shaddai means the breasted one. So it is a connection to fire. It is the sky or the heavens in the world. So because it's got the sun and the stars above. It is the summertime, which is right now. This is what's happening right now in our world. This is the summertime, the heat of the summer. And it is the head in the body, where we have thoughts and emotions kind of rising up into our head. And it is the direction above if you think about the divine temple. So that's what's our central issue right now, is this fire, this fieriness, maybe the passion of things that are coming up with regards to Tu B'Av, feeling passion, feeling love, feeling either physical passion or emotional passion for someone. Again, this does not have to be a romantic love, although traditionally it is some kind of a romantic or physical love that's happening. So this is our central issue: fire in our thoughts. Fire. It could be passions in terms of anger as well, but ideally with Tu B'Av, we're talking about passions in terms of love. And what's come right before that is the letter Vav. Vav is the letter that is actually a connecting letter. It literally means and. It's also a standing person with a slightly bowed head. It is the number 6, which represents a completion of the days of creation before we got to Shabbat. So it's sort of a almost completion time. So something maybe just completed recently in your life, or some connection that maybe you're just learning about has come up for you. It is connecting with heaven and earth. And it also is about standing tall and being maybe erect in your life, being proud, or being not shying away from your truth. It also can represent a peg or a hook, things that bring connection together. So something recently, perhaps in the recent past, you had to do with connection or needing to stand strong. And that's what's brought us to this present time of the fire. So as we look up above the fire, we get the letter Chet. And Chet is, looks like this. It is representative of a chuppah. So interesting, if you're going to go out to the fields and dance in white, or watch people dance in white, you might end up under the chuppah, which is the marriage canopy. So that's happy. That's a happy time, whether or not you're planning on getting married. A chuppah is a lovely thing. It's great to have a party under a chuppah. It could be a canopy of some sort. Chet is also the number 8 in the gematria. So we have 8 being one more than 7. 7 being the number of days that it took for creation and Shabbat to be created. And so one more than that is 8, and 8 represents, therefore, infinity. And of course, if you take the symbol for 8 and you put it on its side, it looks like an infinity symbol. So it also is the first letter in the word Chai. So it could have to do with life, a life force, and in divine life, but mostly about that infinity, that the infinite infinity that we have in the completion of creation and going beyond that. So here we've got this connection. It's brought us into the fire of passion, and under the chuppah, or under an infinite connection, at least with the divine, if not with another person or persons in your life, is what's going to be working in your favor in this coming time. Below the line, we have the letter Samech. And Samech is also, in a way, about connection. It is a circle. So it's a circle and has to do with being what is surrounding. The word sovev means surrounds, is a circle. So it's a container of sorts. It is a presence that surrounds all worlds. It has to do with cycles and circles and reincarnation and spirals and seasons and such like that. And this being on the lower line, it could have to do with, repeating old habits or old behaviors. It could have to do with not feeling like you're coming into, not being surrounded with with love. Also, interestingly, Samech can represent agitation. In the Paleo Hebrew, it actually looks like a thorn, and it is representative of a thorn. So maybe there's been some agitation or some discomfort. Some agitation could be a happy thing, but it sounds like there's some contention that may be not going to help you with this. If your fire is about anger, don't hold on to that thorn. Instead, bring yourself up to this idea of the infinite and how one can connect with the infinite instead of turning into one's agitation and anger type of fire. And through all of this, it'll bring us to Mem. And Mem is the letter that is right in the center of the alphabet. It is the 13th letter of the Hebrew alphabet, and it represents water. Mayim, Hayim. It is one of the mother letters, one of the creation letters that goes along with fire and air. Mem is a mother. So it talks about the mother of life, the mother that is the amniotic fluid that we are steeped in as we are humans in the womb. It is the number 40 in Gematria, which is the number of weeks of gestation for a human. And sometimes people say that Mem has to do with the water, which is Torah. It also represents Miriam, who is the prophetess who carried the well with her in the wilderness so that it could sustain the people. So it's the belly in the body, and it is it is the winter in the seasons, the wet season, and it is merit and chesed, which is loving kindness. So when we get through this fire time, we may have some water to quench us. There may be some gestation, possibly if you have connected with somebody with passion and gotten under the chuppah in some way or another, you may end up with something coming in the belly, some kind of gestation coming in the belly. So be aware of that. And I hope it's a happy choice for everyone to dive into that water, maybe cool that fire a bit, and swim in the waters of life. And for those of you who chose this beautiful, ripe, thornless blackberry, that is your reading for Tu B'Av. I hope that you have a lovely time dancing in the fields in white and staining your garments with the juice of the berries as you enjoy this time. We'll see you next time. Okay, for those of you who chose the apple, very symbolic of this Tu B'Av coming together with another person in the way that the garden brought both apart and together the first humans in the Garden of Eden. We have the apple, this windfall apple that came out of the tree in our backyard. It's got a blush on it. And we're going to pull some Hebrunes for you today as we look at a reading for you for Tu B'Av. Let's see what we got. The first letter, I'm going to move this up actually because I want to give some space. The first letter that comes out is the letter Samech. Lovely. I'm going to go left with the next letter. I have the letter Lamed. I'm going to go above next with this. The above letter is Tav. And let's see what else we have in here. I'm going to go below next. Below we have the letter Shin. And to the right, let's see what I've got. I've got the letter Zayin. Okay, interesting. Okay, let's see what we come up with for this. So beginning our central issue, we have the letter Samech. Samech is a circle. It looks like this. I'll bring it a little closer. It's a circle, and it is about being surrounded, like a big hug. It's also about cycles and spirals and seasons. So we've got the season coming up, well, the season we're in, which is summer, and we've got the season we're heading into, which is that of Rosh Hashanah and Teshuvah. And it is the word that starts, the letter that starts the word simcha, which is about happiness, and smicha also, which is ordination. So coming into something that maybe is being ordained for you. Is sometimes about reincarnation. It's about cycles and circles. It is also in the Paleo Hebrew, it actually looks completely different. It doesn't look like a circle at all, and it has to do with the other meaning of it, which is agitation, and it looks like and is a thorn in the ancient Hebrew. So it could have something to do with agitation. It could be happy agitation. It could be being happy about a thing, being excited about a thing, and so it doesn't have to be a negative idea. But whatever's coming up for you right now has to do with perhaps being surrounded, being protected, being in the midst of a cycle and a circle, a spiral that is centering you. And that's our central issue right now. Let's come before that is the letter Lev. Lev is the letter that reaches above the line. So it has this aspirational idea where it reaches up high. And it is the first letter of the word Lev, which means heart. So it's like the heart longing and reaching, trying to connect with the divine. It also has to do with learning and teaching. So what came right before possibly is this idea of the longing of the heart. As we go into Tu B'Av, which is this holiday about love, and it's about connection, perhaps that you've had a longing in your heart for some kind of protection, some kind of surrounding, some kind of something that's going to feel like home to you, something that feels like a warming hug. And what's going to help us in this situation is the letter Tav. Tav, which is above the line here. It is the last letter in the Hebrew alphabet, and it is a stamp and a seal. It's like seal in the deal. It's like the signature on the end of the alphabet. So it is also the last letter in the word emet, which means truth. So it has something to do with being honest, being truthful, it's a completion letter for sure, but it's also about making an agreement, about like signing your name. And perhaps we're making a commitment here, having had this longing and finding this being surrounded with love. You want to make a commitment now. It also has to do with, it can be about judgment or justice. Some people say that's a dalet and that's a nun, and dalet and nun together spelled din or dan, which is judgment. But it sounds like for me in this, what speaks to for me in this particular reading is that it's about being willing to commit to something, even temporarily, but making a commitment, making a choice to commit to and sign your name or seal your troth to someone, possibly with your heart being connected. It is about sovereignty as well. So maybe it's just being committed to your connection with the divine, and that's fine. We don't have to be talking only about romantic love here. Perhaps it's a family member or a very, very close friend that you want to commit to here. But again, being sovereign, being your own, feeling sovereign in your own decisions in your own body, making good choices around that. On the lower line, we have the letter Shin, and Shin is about fire. And it's often a letter of passion. It can be about lust for sure. But on the lower line here, we're talking about something that is negative, and so maybe it's about that passion not giving in to passion only, not giving into passion, but instead giving into something that is a commitment. It has to do with summer in the body, summertime rather, the head in the body, and the direction above in the celestial temple. But here's on the lower line. So although it has to do with being on fire and having that fieriness in us, it has the beginning of the word shalom and the beginning of the word shekhinah. On the lower line, it possibly can have to do with just not being in your head, being in your heart instead, being with a commitment, having the sense to really listen to your intuition and your heart rather than just try to think your way out of a thing. Don't get hot-headed about it. Don't have anger about whatever's going on here, but reach back up to this commitment that you're making to yourself, and possibly to another person, but definitely to the divine. And where that will lead us is to Zayin. And Zayin is a letter that represents a scepter or sword. So interestingly, it also has to do with sovereignty. So you've got the sovereignty of the divine, and you have this idea that it's also, some folks say that it has to represent the Shabbat bride. So since we're talking about love and relationships here, maybe there's a bridal future for whatever is going on here for you. But it also going to have to do with a sword. So and frankly, a sword and a scepter, let's just be realistic, it's a phallic symbol. So maybe it has something to do with that. Zayin is the word that begins the word zonah. For those of you who know what that means, it's sometimes represented, is translated as a putz or a shmickle, or possibly a prostitute. So there's some kind of sexy times here if we play our cards right, if that's what we want, if that's what our sovereignty says. But it has to do with this magical number of the number 7. And there's so many sevens there. They've got 7 days in the week. We've got 7 days in creation. We've got 7 months of the holidays. We've got the 7 weeks of the Omer. We've got the Jubilee, which is the 7 times 7 years. So many magical things that having to do with when a bride at the wedding circles the groom 7 times. So many things about that. And that's a beautiful, beautiful tribute to this whole situation where one is circled with protection and being surrounded, has a longing in their heart, is sealing the deal with some kind of commitment to oneself, to the divine, or to another, releasing this idea that one just has to be in their head or lusting after a thing, and moving into this final idea of sovereignty and connection and rest, because it is the 7th day, so Shabbat, maybe getting a little sleep after all of this enjoyment with the apple. So for those of you who chose our little apple here today, I wish you a very, very joyous Tu B'Av, where you get to dance in the fields with your beloved, dress in white, but remain true to your own sovereignty and do what you love to do. And I will see you at the next reading. Thank you so much for watching.